Okay. Hello, everyone. So I wanted to give an update as to the current status of the budget and financial goal manager that we were working on for the CIS5200. So, as far as our what exactly the project was about, it's worth mentioning that the purpose is to create a database so that way users are able to create budgets, but they're also able to track long-term financial goals such as purchasing a house and everything. And as far as the goals for week 6 are concerned, the goal was to ensure that we had an ER diagram outlining the general overall design of the database, as well as establishing a set of business rules and constraints. This list of business rules is not necessarily exhaustive, excuse me, but it will. But this will serve at least as a good foundation for us when it comes to integrating this into MS SQL in the future. So, users, for instance, are people actually using the thing. They are the people that are creating their budgets, managing their finances, managing their credit card debt, and stuff like that. So, they can each have an account or multiple potential accounts. They can have their own budget. They can have multiple transactions, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And if you read the report that I have submitted to get the GitHub repository, you'll understand um, why I went with the suggestion from in order to combine income and expenses into a super type called transaction. Then there are the financial goals. These are the things that people want to achieve, and these are the things like being able to put a nice down payment on the house, being able to purchase a new car, things of that nature. Many of these connections, at least on the user side, are optional. So the cardinality is optional, and that it's possible that some of those things could be established. So there could be a transaction, but it's not yet assigned to a person in the system, or maybe that data is just missing for some reason. Of course, naturally, you would want to include that information as soon as possible in order to actually use the thing, but if, for the sake of it being there's not going to be any data to begin with. That's why it's optional on that side. Category is a special entity that has been included into the database in that it kind of works like an enumeration, if you want to think of it like that, where it a lot of the common um, components, or a lot of the common terms that are repeated over and over again, such as money for gas, money for groceries, what is income, expenses, investments, things of that nature, those will be handled by the category and entity. And each budget should also have its own category, because it's likely that in reality you're going to say, okay, I've got like $300 for groceries this month or something like that. Getting a little carried away. Anyway, so then there are the transactions. So a transaction is classified as either an income or an expense. And I'll show you this on the ER diagram in just a moment. But every transaction also has a category. So is it income? Is it an expense? Is it paying off debt or something like that? And then each transaction can be handled by one account. So it's unlikely that you're going to have one transaction be handled by two completely separate accounts, for instance. And then building off of that, there's another subtype. Expense and income are both subtypes of transactions. Well, now we also have the expenses themselves, which they could be further classified into either a loan or a credit card. That additional classification, though, is optional, because you could just have something like getting a burger from McDonald's or something. That doesn't necessarily fall into the same category as paying off a credit card or having a loan or whatever. And then there are also some other restrictions as well, including things such as accounts. So as I said, each person can have multiple accounts, and they can come in two different forms. They can come in the form of either a bank account, or they can come in the form of an investment account. And accounts can handle multiple transactions occurring at the same time, but as we said earlier, each transaction should only be handled by one account. The investment accounts, in particular, are a little unique in that those are for your external investments such as stocks or bonds. And with stocks, especially, the price of the stock changes with time. So, what you initially invested in the account or in the portfolio, it's likely that the value that you're going to have is going to change with time. So, you might have the investment grow, hopefully that's the case, or your investment may decrease and you wound up ending up losing money in the long run. And then, of course, each person has their own budget that is assigned to them. So this is the current version, or the most current version of the ER diagram at the moment. It's a little bit small to see on this, but I have it in detail in Appendix A of my report that has been published to the GitHub repository. But nonetheless, we can see that the transactions on the left-hand side, that is divided into a subtype, and it is a total subtype. So it is either an income or it is an expense. It can't be both. Then there are the expenses. They too are divided into subtypes. However, that one is optional. Again, as I said, maybe you buy a burger from McDonald's or use your debit card or something. That's not necessarily the same thing as paying off a credit card or paying off a loan. And then there are also the accounts themselves, and they too are split into two separate accounts. One is for investments, so maybe your retirement, your stocks, things of that nature, and the other one is just your regular old bank account that serves as your checking and maybe your savings and stuff. But that is where the project stands at the moment. The next stages would be to integrate this into Microsoft SQL or Microsoft SQL Server. And in order to do that, I plan on using VS Code with Docker enabled. So with those two tools, I expect to begin at least laying the foundation for this thing very soon. So, well, that is the Week 6 update. I will keep in touch with any issues and any new shortcomings. And if you have any questions or concerns or recommendations, please feel free to say so. Thank you so much and have a great day.